And I think one of the nice things about having access to perspectives is that you have this power to look at life. It'll take some adjusting to look at life differently. Just in case you go home and you want to have a chat with your husband and you realize he's far too tired and far too uninterested in what you have to say, okay? You have access to the philosophy of Stoics. What need do you have for other people? Be self-sufficient. It's a great lesson. You have access to existentialism. Why would you want to allow your husband's attitude to impact you? Do not live under the umbrella where other people have the power to create emotions inside you, to create thoughts inside you. Be your own generator. Be your own creator. It's a great philosophy of life, where you kind of remove power from society and you will not be impacted by their judgment. You know, I mean, you need to understand how miraculous it is for someone like Malcolm X, someone like Chief Seattle, to say, I'm not going to allow the dominant culture, the dominant race, i.e. Caucasians, to define who I am and what I am. I have come to realize my skin color is red. I have this 3,000-year tradition, and that for me is profoundly satisfying. I'd rather go back to my own heritage than adopt a philosophy of life that's alien to me and my people and my culture. Capitalism doesn't work for me. Private property doesn't work for me. Envy doesn't work for me or for our people. You know, even if you were to look at someone like Malcolm X, you know, I mean, their people had been defined, categorized. Just to give you an example, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with this, but I'll give it to you nevertheless. When this goes way before Charles Darwin, but social evolution in its infancy kind of did something really nasty to people of color. Now, for whatever the reasons are, and the reasons are enormous, and I don't want to go into them. The world basically was categorized into three different parts. At the very top, you have what sociologists call the Caucasoids. Okay? Now, Caucasoids, the way they defined and gave themselves certain qualities and attributes is that they are the most civilized, they are the most reflective, they are the most compassionate, they are the most forgiving, and they are the most insightful categories of people. Now, Caucasoids in today's language basically means white. That's how the world was defined. And because Adam in the Old Testament, in Genesis, okay, because Adam is white, okay, it means that God has given them the soul that is nearly perfect. And this has been the philosophy of life for a long, long, long time. But the truth is, the world does not just contain white people. It has various shades. So below them, they name this category behind them, people behind them, as Mongoloids. Mongoloids are what we call barbarians. Now, barbarians can be civilized. Okay? The truth is, everybody can be civilized, but it just takes a long time. Barbarians can be civilized. How can they be civilized? They can be civilized by Caucasoids above them. They can't civilize themselves. It's impossible. So they need another group of people to come down and babysit and chaperone them and discipline them and give them the right philosophy of life. Now, who are the Mongoloids? They are the brown people. Okay. They are the yellow people. And whatever color you want to put in the middle. Which means that because of Adam being white, and because God's Spirit is inside them, and because they're white, they have every right to dominate this group of people. Right? Below the Mongoloids exists another category of people, and we call them Negroids. Okay. Now, if the Caucasoids are civilized and the Mongoloids are barbarians, the Negroids are savages. And it's really difficult to civilize the savages. You must do whatever you possibly can to make sure they have the least amount of power, because you need them to be underground. You don't want them to be contaminating what the Caucasoids have created or built. I honestly don't know what led us to here. And I guess if I was to kind of connect this to your first question, which is, why is it that people who are unhappy and discontent make other people miserable? The people on the top of a complex, they don't really know what to do with the complex. They are stingy. They don't want to share the world with other people. So what they have to do is make the brown people look bad and feel bad about themselves. Look at, for example, what the English did to India. What the French did to Africa. What the West has done to the Middle East. It's making people feel inferior. And once you internalize, and that's the trick, and whether we are talking about politics, religion, spirituality, or philosophy, that's the trick. See, right now, this class is only interesting for you and to you. But the moment you begin to internalize some of the ideas we talk about in this class, you have a serious crack in your belief system. Because the moment you begin to internalize, you now have a very intimate relationship with the ideas presented to you in this class. Have you seen the movie The Experiment? Any of you?
He watched a lot of movies.
They really are an extension of life. The experiment, it was taking place, it's a real experiment that took place, I think in Stanford, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, the prison.
The prison. So what you have, you have this committee, and they have a very elaborate philosophy, and they want to make sure that they choose the right people. So they choose a hippie, they choose a Christian, and they choose someone who's aggressive. And so, the Christian becomes a guard, and the hippie becomes a prisoner. And there are, 5 or 10 or 15 different people in each setting. And they give them a uniform. So the guard has a uniform that fits that particular character, and the prisoner has a uniform that fits that. And then slowly, the Christian, the Bible thumper, really begins to assume that he is a prison guard. And really begins to assume that what he's saying must go. And he begins to impose his ideas onto the prisoners. And he beats them physically. In other words, he internalizes. You know, this abstract concept, this is only an experiment. We're giving you $1,000 for a week. All you gotta do is wear this uniform and just walk around this, environment and tell people you're the guard and do this and do that to them. And he buys into the story. And he actually thinks that he is, in fact, a guard. And, you are a Christian. You're about forgiveness and compassion. But the narrative in this experiment is so powerful that Christianity goes away and it's replaced by being a guard. And you have to enforce laws. And just in case people don't obey, you will become vicious. And then you have a hippie who's all about loving people and this and that. Near the end of the movie, he also begins to fight. And the point of it is, if you don't internalize, if you don't create a proper relationship with the ideas, whether given to you by Karl Marx or Plato or Angela Davis or me in this classroom or Jesus Christ, Jesus would never have any followers. It's impossible. And in many ways, I think what keeps many of our relationships safe, despite the fact that they are quite lifeless at the very bottom, but we keep them from coming up, is that we are very careful not to create the sort of emotions with other people that will evolve into intimacy, internalization. Because when that happens, you begin to think about them and feel about them. And that could be very dangerous, and in many ways unhealthy. So, there you have it. That's the other part really is human beings can never be happy. It's impossible. It's just part of who and what we are. It's not like you go out there and choose suffering. It's the moment you're born, it comes with you. You're bound to become dissatisfied. That's because none of us do well with boredom. None of us do well with routine. You have to repress and suppress a lot of emotions, a lot of insights, a lot of reflection, a lot of truth about, how your life has turned out. And because you're aware of those things, you have no choice but to have that awareness kind of make you miserable, unhappy, discontent. For the longest time, the way you were able to put a lid on your unhappiness was religion, God. Having social, political, and religious conversations with your friends and parents. But the moment society became secular, the moment society became more individualistic, and by secular I mean symbols of God, symbols of religion, mythology, they all left us. You became all meat and no spirit. You have no idea who to blame your struggles on, your dissatisfactions on. And so, instead of asking God for help, you kind of do self-help books. And then you do therapy. And then you try to correct the very thing that can never be corrected. You can't correct life, it's impossible. The only thing you can hope for in a relationship is that the two of you stay together long enough where you're both in your 60s or 70s. You're far too tired to engage in a conversation with another human being to create intimacy or romance. that when you're in your 60s or 70s, your body is far too impotent to really engage in the act of sex. And if you are not for too long, you know. But once you remove all those barriers that kind of protect human life, everything falls apart. You know, all the philosophies of life that have been given to us over the past 6,000 years of written history, you know, what they all have in common is that life is just problematic. You know, so you fix your closet, your bed is a mess. You know, you fix your bed, your rug is a mess. You fix your rug, your bedroom door is a mess. You fix all of that, the paint is a mess. You fix your room, the living room is a mess. You fix the living room, the kitchen is a mess. You fix the kitchen, you know, the dishwasher is a mess. And then all you have to do near the end of your life, you look at your house and say, well, okay, well, I did 5 things, there are 50 things that are a mess, but now it's time for me to die. And what you have currently is that you have all these philosophies of life that are trying to kind of sell you this thing which says there's a way you can fix all of life. Not possible. Even if you were to fix yourself completely, Toby, you'd want to talk to people. And you realize that language is a very, very fallible container for all of your emotions and insights. And that's going to make you a mess. It's going to create frustration inside you. And even if you were to be profoundly articulate, you're surrounded by stupid people. What are you going to do with them? And in the end, it's going to be so bad that you'll be like Jesus Christ. Let this guy pass by me. Or, my God, why have thou forsaken me? There is no end to the struggle. It's impossible. First is trying to walk, then trying to run, then trying to ride your bike, then getting an A in school, then graduating, then getting a job, then getting married, then raising kids, and paying off your mortgage, dealing with a body that's falling apart, preparing for death. It just never ends. But things will end when you die. Oh wait, let me take that back. You have a soul that's going to find itself before God. There's a good chance, knowing you, God will judge you as incompetent. You'll be sent to eternal damnation, where you'll be barbecued. Good luck with all that, Toby. Yeah, God bless you. Paul, anything?
When I was little, I used to get hurt and stuff, or like say to my dad, like my arm hurts or my stomach hurts. And his response was always, well, it's because you're alive. When you're dead, nothing's going to hurt you.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny because for the longest time in our history, your parents and your society, the movies, literature, none of them promised you happiness. You don't really get a job because it's an extension of your soul. Marx, you know, I mean, it's the outcome of the Age of Reason, the 18th century, where it gave human beings the illusion that if they can focus on happiness, they will be happy. Nobody went out on a date because they wanted to find their soulmate. It's ridiculous. You get married, I mean, what else is there to do? And nobody would say to you that marriage is a trouble-free. I mean, read some of the literature about marriage and women and men. You know, it's a misery in making. You know, Nobody tells you that raising kids are going to be fun. No one. No one tells you that getting old is something you should look forward to. It's only now that you need to find a job that speaks to your soul. You need to find a woman or a man who happens to be your soulmate. Make sure that you live your life to the fullest. No regret, no shame. Accept. And just in case you have hints of resentment and envy and anger, you need to correct those things because they're sins. And be aware and be mindful and accept your life. What a stupid way to live life in modern times. You know, all the things that have never been done, never been achieved. You know, one of the nice things about movies like Star Wars is that we now live in the space, right? But evil still exists. It lives deep down inside the human being. It doesn't matter what you do, the evil will never go away. And one of the nice things about Gilgamesh is just that, the story of Gilgamesh. We are born 2/3 even. 2/3 flesh. 1/3 gold. As long as you live amongst human beings, you're always going to find yourself in trouble. Sarah, anything? Toby?
It's not very optimistic.
Oh no, you don't want to be optimistic in life. That'll ruin you. You know, look, imagine you want to restore a 1915 Porsche. I don't know if such a car exists, but you've been driving past this house every day for the past 10 years, and there's this Porsche. Okay? The body is rusted, the tires are flat, things are just falling off, and you knock on the owner's door, and he says, "Yeah, I can sell it to you." And you say, "How much?" And he says, "How much you got?" "I'm 19, you know, I've been saving my money since I was 2. I have $7,000. And let's just say you're able to restore it. So, okay, I'll buy it. You call a tow truck, they'll bring the car to your place, and then you lift the hood, realize there is no engine. Okay? Do you know what it takes? And remember, you do all of this because you are positive, you are optimistic. You have read lots of Tony Robbins books that you can do whatever, you can be whatever, right? Then you realize that you have actually never sanded a body of a car. You realize that you don't even know how to jack up a car to change the tires. You have no idea what sort of an engine goes into this hood, under the hood, and how you even need to work with it. And then you say, wait a minute, before I can do any of this, I need to have money. Then you realize you didn't have money. And then what you do is say, okay, I'm going to go out there, get myself a job, and then, save money to work on this car. You call people and they give you this rough estimate of $60,000 to be able to make this car brand new. You have to work for the next 10 years. And by the time you have 60,000, you realize you're far too exhausted. You no longer even have the interest in working on this car. It's just been sitting there. You've been a blight to your neighbors. There is nothing wrong with being optimistic as long as you have resources. You want to get married, Toby? Let's be optimistic about that. Sure. You want to get married to your current girlfriend at the age of 19? Just say yes, because we want to be optimistic.
All right. Yeah.
All right, good job. Do you have a job?
Yeah.
How much money do you make?
22.
Do you know how much rent is in Oakland? No, yeah, you don't have that income, okay? Unless you guys want to go into like the special housing. You want to do that? No, of course not. Are you finished with school? Oh, you know, okay, so there's that. Do you have a car? Jesus. Do you have a bike?
Yeah.
2 bikes?
Actually, yes.
Good, so you guys can just bike here and there, okay? So, but does she work? Oh, you don't know, all right, okay. So, you're 19, no money, no education, no car. Are your parents willing to help you? Probably not. These days, parents have to figure out what they need to do for themselves. Do you think that in the next few years, some drastic thing about you is going to change, perhaps? Do you have all the tools? I mean, most important tools as to how you need to function in relationships? Are you old enough, mature enough, experienced enough, seasoned enough to know all those things? I don't think so. It's much better for you to be realistic. And when you become realistic, it's not borderline pessimistic, it's just pessimistic. I don't have money. I don't have degrees. They're, academically uneducated. I am far too young and lack the proper experiences to be in a relationship. God forbid, if one of these sexual episodes turn into a pregnancy, unwanted, am I ready to be a father? Is she ready to be a mother? The answer is no. All these questions will push you into the world of cynicism and pessimism, where you begin to doubt your relationship. And you know what this will do? It will save you from having a miserable future. If on the other hand you were to be stupidly optimistic, say, yeah, you know what, God likes me, I'm a good looking guy, I have a bike, God will provide, no problem. And you'll go home, Jill, let's get married. She says, yeah, exciting, okay. Your parents will come to the city hall, $10, you're married now. Now what? All right, so you'll distract yourself by going to IKEA for a few hours, you'll buy this, you'll buy that. And then both of you will kind of sit in your like little studio or tent in the middle of like International 48th. And you say, okay, well, now what? Honey, I gotta get a job. 9 to 5, you gotta drop out of school. You come home, you're exhausted. And she says, well, let's go out and eat. But we don't really have money. But can we buy a car? We don't really have money. And you know what's going to happen to that love of yours? Yeah. She's going to start nagging. You're going to start drinking. Once in a while, she may, like Amber Heard, she may slap you, kick you. And you may find yourself drunk on the bathroom floor. See, this is what optimism does for you. It'll ruin your life. Be a pessimist. What benefit is there for man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Don't store your treasures down here, man. It's a den of thieves. First, seek the kingdom of God. First, become mature. Become reflective. Examine life. Examine yourself. Once you have matured in that department, then go back to life. And then you realize perhaps that life really is not worth living. Pessimism will save you. Optimism will ruin you. You know why America is like this? Mental health issues, drug issues, porn issues, alcohol issues. Optimism.
And opportunity.
Yeah. You need to have the mentality of a third world country people. Life sucks, but I will do the best I can to provide for myself and my family and my parents. And if I have time, energy, I'll try to stand up for justice, for fairness. Don't ever marry for love, ever. It'll ruin you. It's like a business. You know, you're not investing your money into buying a building, you're investing your emotions into another human being. And should that human being be rotten, immature, you'll go bankrupt emotionally. And you know what happens when you go bankrupt emotionally? Mentally, you'll be confused. And then you know what you're going to do? You'll either drink or smoke or think about suicide, or you'll do therapy for the rest of your life. That's no way to live. Treat life as a business. But keep in mind that next week, Tuesday, we have no class. Don't be an optimist. Don't shower, drive to class saying, there may be a chance that we're holding class. Don't do that. I'm giving you facts. There will be no class on Tuesday. We'll meet for the last time on Thursday. Have a nice day. Have a nice weekend. Tell your parents I said hello. Your husband, your children. Have a nice time at work. It's good to see all of you. Have a very happy weekend.
Full of hope.
Full of hope and optimism.